So my hair's in a bun today, guys, and that can only mean one thing. Mrs. Soap and Clay means business. And the reason why Mrs. Soap and Clay means business today is because one of my wholesale accounts came to me with an idea for a bar, complete with pictures of someone else's soap, but also it's a coffee shop, so she wants her coffee in it, and also she wanted a salt bar, and also she wants a big epic bubble. So you know what that means? That means it's time for Mrs. Soap and Clay to play, and I get to do so, and I get to deliver everything on the brief. Maybe. And I'm going to give you the recipe that I used for all of it, and we're also going to test the lather and do all the things as well to see if all of those things were met. But you know, I'm actually getting ahead of myself because I'm telling you too much right here. I have to send you an intro and do the thing because it's my thing. So hello, I'm Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. How's it going, Sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things, and you are here for day 263 of 365 days of soap, and today, as I said, is a recipe day. We are doing a salt bar, first and foremost. This is a salt brine recipe, but we are actually upping the ante and the weirdness because we are also including coffee. Now, for regular salt brine recipes, you can actually eliminate this coffee and not do it at all. But again, because this particular wholesale account is a coffee shop, I use her coffees in every batch of soap that I make. So she gets to carry her business theme onto her soaps. You get it. And so in addition to this, because she wanted a salt brine bar and a salt bar and a beach theme and it to smell like the ocean and also the coffee incorporation, but and then also an obvious really big bubble, I got to play with some really interesting stuff. So let's go to the video. I will show you the newest version of a beach theme, you know now, with some extra fun stuff, and we'll talk about all of that, including the recipe, you know there. Hello, everyone. Today is a salt brine salt soap recipe day with coffee, and it's a weird one. So the recipe is forthcoming right now. You ready? It's coming. Get ready to pause and screen cap and do the thing. And this will make a 3-pound batch. There it is, right there, all the things. So we are working with a 75% olive or coconut oil and a 25% olive in this. Super fatted at 20%. And we are using 50% of the total oil weight in salt. And half of that is going to go into the actual lye solution. So mix your water and your lye and then put the salt into that and then reserve the remaining half to put into your soap batter. Now I will talk to you about why I'm doing that in just a minute. But the other weird addition with all of this is, as I said before, this is for a wholesale account that is a coffee shop. And so for all of her soaps, we put coffee into them. And so coffee had to be included into this salt bar. So where normally I would actually put in sugar in the solution as well as salt to really help out with the lather, I'm not going to, because as we know, with all of the coffee and tea soaps that we have made in the past, it actually produces a really lovely bubble all on its own. Now, pay attention to the notes that I put in that recipe as well. 20% superfat is ideal, 10% is fine too, but because of the copious amounts of coconut oil, we don't want it to be, drying for the skin. Even though I've already given you my opinion on, coconut oil and whether or not it's drying. But let's talk more about this entire recipe and why it's awesome and all of the things while we pour this beachy soap. Okay, so the pour of this guy is going to be like many beach themes you have seen and that I have shown you in the past. We are laying down a nice, beautiful coppery finish for the base there, and then we will do, colors of blues. And I will be using, if memory serves, all of the kaolin clay that is in the recipe for the additives as the lightener for the blue part. Okay, so the reason why salt bars are cool, first and foremost, they harden the bar like nobody's business, which is one of the reasons why it says in those notes, do not add any other bar hardeners, especially considering you have such really high amounts of coconut oil, which is already going to harden a bar a lot. Don't add extra bar hardeners in there. Like I'm already pushing the limits, adding the kaolin clay, which is why I'm using it at wildly less than I usually use kaolin clay for. So that's the first thing. It hardens the bar. Second, salt detoxifies the skin. All good things. Unfortunately, with salt comes really, really light lather. It becomes a very creamy lather, much like, I think better than what I've ever experienced with an olive oil soap, like a Castile soap. I actually like this better, making a salt brine soap. Now, for salt in a recipe, you can go anywhere between 50 and 100% of the weight of your oils to make a proper salt soap. And you can put the salt in the soap batter. You can put the salt in the lye solution. Here's the thing. Many, many moons ago, and this is why I do it the way I do it now. It's a 50% salt blend because I don't think 100% is necessary. I didn't see any difference between a 50% salt solution and a 100%. But many, many moons ago, a wholesale account wanted a salt bar. And they were talking about summer soaps because living in the Pacific Northwest, we have water all around us. It's a thing. So when summer comes along, you're always going to be thinking of salt water. I get it. Fine, cool. And I was talking with the wholesale account about a salt soap. And I went, yeah, totally, I can do that. And we came up with the design. We did the thing. And I put all of the salt into the actual lye solution, which again leads to a harder bar faster, which actually does make cutting and stamping difficult. Like you should do it within 12 hours of pouring it. But it makes for a really smooth bar with no real scrubby properties. Then that's not to say that the salt itself is not exfoliating, because it is, but it's exfoliating much like you would see like a lactic acid exfoliating, in that there's no gritty bits to it and it's still sloughing off the dead skin cells. So the exfoliation is happening, but I made, again, many, many moons ago, I did this thing with a client and I made 1,000 bars wherein I had put the salt in the lye solution and none in the actual soap batter. So there was no scrubby properties. Like you couldn't feel it. It didn't feel like a salt scrub. It didn't feel like an exfoliator. Even though, as I said, just by nature of putting the salt in, you're still getting the exfoliation. So I delivered the soaps to the client, 1,000 of them, and they went, yeah, we wanted exfoliation. We wanted like a scrubby bar. And so I had, because at that point it didn't matter. I didn't explain myself well enough. So it's like, well, I'm going to have to remake these for you guys then. And I did so. And so because of that moment, I have decided that all of my salt brine bars are going to be salt brine and salt mixture. So half of it goes into the lye solution so the batter doesn't get too thick. by putting 100% of the salt into the batter itself. Because I've shown you just like salt scrub bars before, and that batter gets thick as soon as you put the salt in. So this is my happy medium. Half of that salt goes into the lye solution, and you put it in when the lye solution is still warm. So put your water in, put your lye in, mixy mix until it's clear and everything is dissolved, and then put your salt in and also keep mixing that until it's dissolved. Secondary weird thing with all of this is the coffee. And as I said, coffee really does increase the bubble, which is cool and has its own weirdly detoxifying properties as well. That's not a necessary thing to include into this soap. You don't have to substitute your water for coffee. But I think it's going to be another cool way to ensure a really big, beautiful bubble without the addition of like sugars and stuff, because you already have the coffee. So I guess playing with this, it was a really cool and really fun thing to be like, is this possible? Can we do this? Is the coffee and the salt, are they going to like start interacting with each other in weird ways? And like right off the bat, my first, thing was no, they're not going to, because we are dealing with two completely different chemical properties with the coffee and the salt. But at the same time, I didn't really know. Like I had never, because you're kind of adding a lot for such a simple recipe, because it's 2 oils, therefore simple recipe. You have a lot of extra steps, right? It's brewing the coffee, cooling the coffee, using the coffee 100% in place of your water, putting the lye in, dissolving the lye, and then dissolving the salt, and then putting the salt. It's a lot of extra steps for what looks to be a very simple recipe. And so who knows? Maybe things could go wrong. But the one thing I was very, very happy about was how fluid the batter ended up being throughout this entire pour. Now, granted, you noticed that I only put the salt, the scrubby bits, in the bottom sand beach part of this like beach themed soap. So you just have the scrubby bits coming from the bottom, because I wanted to make sure I had enough working time with the blues to, do the thing and continue coloring them and recoloring them. So it got lighter as we went up the bar. And that works out really well too. One of the challenges with doing it this way is you're really concentrating all of your exfoliant scrubby bits, your salt, hello head, in the bottom of the bar, which means you might end up with a bar that's difficult to cut through and or maybe crumbly. And, going back to like what does a lye heavy bar look like, the video that I did before, you might think that it's lye heavy as a result. It's not. It's just salt does weird things within, soap better. Okay, so on to the cut of this guy, and you will be able to see what I mean about the differences between the bottom and the top. So the brown and the blue, essentially. And we will see that really, really manifest once we actually get through these bars and look at the bottom versus the top. As an entire soap, it all works itself out literally in the wash. Like it's fine. You get your nice scrubby awesomeness, but the tops of these bars are very soft because we have the extra water that comes from the dispersed kaolin clay in the top. And also in the bottom, we have all of that, half of the salt in the bottom. So it's quite a shocking difference right as soon as you cut it. And again, I would recommend cutting these things almost immediately. Again, within like 12 hours of pouring it, because that bottom layer is going to be too hard to get through with a cutter otherwise, and stamping them as soon as you cut it. Just salt bars are very interesting. They definitely do harden the bar. Again, salt is a really cool detoxifier for the skin. It's a gentle exfoliation. Even if you don't feel the scrubby bits, it's still exfoliating your skin. But this was the way that I found worked well because, you know, there were times when I had a lost in translation moment with my wholesale accounts. When they say salt bar, what they mean is exfoliating, like gritty feel. And that's not necessarily what I think it means. And so this is my new way of doing it. 50% of the salt into the lye solution, 50% into the soap batter. Either way, you get the exact same, you know, soap bar and experience. But this is the beautiful part and where it really shines. That 75% coconut oil, it's not at all drying or stripping. Big, beautiful, awesome bubble. And it's gorgeous without sugar, although the coffee did help in that. But also pay attention to how light in color all of that is too. So it's yet another example of coffee is dark, but that doesn't mean that the soaps necessarily have to be. And that's fun. And there it is, a salt brine coffee bar. And it's actually pretty epic. Normally when you're working with a salt brine bar, you're just going to know that that lather is going to be kind of scant. It's going to be creamier as opposed to bubbly, just because of the salt inclusion and all of that. And so it can be a bit of a challenge to fiddle with your recipe and your oils to get them to do what you want and ultimately still have your big bubble payoff. I did the thing. I'm very proud of the thing, and I actually love how fluid the batter stayed throughout the entire pour. That I was not super expecting, but you know, because of salt bar. But I'm also thinking, as I was watching this and talking with you, that one of the reasons why the batter maintained some pretty decent fluidity throughout was because of the coffee inclusion. Now, we have talked about the benefits of coffee and teas and stuff in multiple other videos, so if you would like more information on any of those, please feel free to go check those videos out. I think I've actually linked them in the video. Put a little card up. I think I managed to do that today. Yes, so yeah, that's that, and they're very cool, and the client was very, very excited. If you are interested in these bars, you can't get them from me, and she actually does not have an online shop. She sells all of this at her coffee houses around Washington State. So if you ever do see a Tacoma Java, which is confusing because she has a Tacoma Java in multiple places, stop in, grab a bar. Yeah. If you are interested in anything I do sell, hey, website's coming along, I promise. We've been here before. But yeah, thanks for joining me today. A big special thank you to my sudsers. You guys are what keeps me going and keeps me wanting to make all of these cool things and share my experience and my experiments and my recipes and stuff with you, my sudsers, because you guys are awesome and you guys have built such an amazing community here, and I'm glad that you have done so. Seriously. I am out of here for today, though. I still have a mountain of wholesale orders to get to, so I will see all of you guys again tomorrow for another round of soapy fun. Bye.